2007. Let's face it, 2007 was a great year to be a gamer. In fact, some critics have gone so far as to call 2007 the best year in gaming history. Now that's debatable, of course, but it's not said without anything to back it up. I mean, there were some fantastic games that came out in 2007. You had BioShock, Super Mario Galaxy, Mass Effect, Rock Band, Call of Duty 4, Halo 3, and the list goes on. And to be perfectly honest, 2008 isn't shaping up to be too bad either. Already we have great games like Smash Bros. Brawl, Mario Kart for the Wii, a little game called Grand Theft Auto 4. I've never heard of it, but apparently it's pretty popular. And let's not forget that we have Metal Gear Solid 4, Ninja Gaiden 2, and Gears of War 2 approaching very quickly. Now, with all these fantastic games, it's very easy to overlook some of the more obscure titles that you may not have heard about because there's just so many great games out there and not enough time to play them all. And this is unfortunate because there really are some great games out there that just didn't get the same kind of publicity as ultra-hyped games like Halo 3 and Grand Theft Auto. One such game that got lost in the shuffle is Pinball Hall of Fame, the Williams Collection, released for the Nintendo Wii as well as the PS2 and I believe the PSP as well. I'm going to be reviewing the Wii version of the game. So when you first start up the game, you get this cinematic that's, to be perfectly honest, not that great. It's pretty heavily compressed, it doesn't look very good, and it doesn't really leave a good first impression, but the game itself is a lot of fun, particularly if you're a fan of pinball, which I am. So the interface is pretty cool. It's set up like an old-style arcade, and you just go from table to table. There are 10 tables in all in Pinball Hall of Fame, ranging from tables manufactured in the 70s to the early 90s. Anyway, let's start playing one of the tables. I'll start with Gorgar, which is one of the oldest tables included in the game. As you can see, a lot of attention was paid to the details of the table and its artwork. During the height of arcades, pinball was more or less a staple of the industry. Every arcade had at least a few pinball machines, and throughout the history of pinball, it grew to be more than just a game into a kind of art form. Just the act of activating the flippers to keep your ball in play was only part of the pinball experience. You also appreciated the intricate artwork and design of the table, not to mention the satisfying sounds, bells, and chimes every time you hit a bumper, target, or ramp to increase your score. The controls are very simple. I mean, this is pinball, so you shouldn't expect it to be too complex. The trigger buttons on your Wiimote and nunchuck activate your flippers, the analog stick pulls back and releases the plunger, and since it's the Wii, there's a little bit of motion control thrown in as well. Anyone who's ever played a pinball machine knows that if your ball isn't falling the way you want it, you can always hit the side of the table to change its course. So just flick the Wiimote or the nunchuck, respectively, to give the right or left side of the table a little nudge. This is one of those instances where the Wii's controls really do add to the experience, I think. It's not overdone, and it works really well. Gorgar is one of the more basic and simplistic tables included, but it also happens to be one of my favorites. Which brings me to another highlight of this game. It's interesting to look at a game like Gorgar and see how it compares with some of the later games included. You can actually see how the tables gradually became more and more complex as the years went on. For example, you can play a game like Gorgar, which is one of the older tables, and then compare it to Funhouse, which is the most recent table included. And as you can see, there's just a lot more going on in Funhouse when you compare it to Gorgar. You now have these roller coaster style ramps, trapdoors, and secrets placed throughout the table, and sending your ball through any of these special areas gives you bonuses. In addition, it's next to impossible to miss Rudy, the big ventriloquist doll's head taking up a large portion of the center. As the years went on, pinball machines grew and became more complex, increasing the secrets, goals, lights, and eye candy to add to the overall experience. So on that level, Pinball Hall of Fame acts as an interesting trip through the history of pinball and how it grew as an arcade medium. I love Funhouse, by the way. It's definitely my favorite table in the game. The sounds, lights, and the constant chatter of the Rudy character just combine for a really enjoyable pinball experience. Now, admittedly, I'm probably a little biased when it comes to this game. Playing these incredibly accurate emulations of classic pinball arcade tables holds a lot of nostalgic value for me. You see, I grew up in the 80s, and remember fondly when the arcades were at the height of their popularity. Arcade machines and pinball tables were everywhere, from skating rinks and malls to pizza parlors and convenience stores. Throughout my life, I've actually played a good number of the real versions of the tables included in this package, so playing this game really does bring back a lot of memories from my childhood. I don't know, maybe that just means I'm getting old. Anyway, let's go to another table. This is Space Shuttle, which was originally released in 1984 and happens to be one of the games that I remember playing the real-life version of when I was younger. I remember when I was a kid wanting to get underneath the glass so that I could play with the model shuttle. But how can you blame me? Toys are fun and space shuttles are cool. Now, in addition to keeping your ball in play for as long as possible and just ultimately gaining a high score, Pinball Hall of Fame also includes an achievement system of sorts that gives you other goals to strive for on each table. And this greatly adds to the addictiveness and overall replay value of the game. Alright, looks like I just achieved one of the goals on Space Shuttle. When you first start the game, there are only a few tables that are available for what is called free play. The rest of the tables can only be played when you use a credit. At the beginning of the game, you have a limited amount of credits that you can use to play any of the locked tables. And anytime you achieve one of these goals, you'll earn more credits to play more tables. You can also purchase a table and unlock it for free play if you spend 100 credits. Or if you achieve enough goals on a single table, you'll be able to unlock a table for free. So it looks like I've achieved enough of the goals on Space Shuttle to unlock another table. I've already unlocked most of them. The only one that is still locked is Jive Time. Alright, I guess I'll unlock Jive Time then. And here it is, my newly unlocked table, Jive Time. And, well, yeah, this is Jive Time. I have to be honest, I don't care for Jive Time too much. There's just not a whole lot happening on the table, and it's kind of boring. In addition, it's also kind of cheap. I mean, the space between the flippers is really wide, and the area for the traps on the side is really large as well, so you're going to be losing balls constantly in this game. I understand that arcade machines were designed to make you lose quickly and eat up as many of your quarters as possible, but this one's a little bit out of hand. So yeah, I really don't care for Jive Time too much, and it is by far my least favorite table in the game, which explains why I unlocked it last. But it's also the oldest table on display, coming from all the way back in 1970, so I'll give it some kind of a benefit of the doubt for that reason and that reason only. But even with the inclusion of Jive Time, the overall package doesn't suffer in the slightest. You still have 9 other tables to choose from. I wasn't able to go in depth on every table, unfortunately, so the tables that I didn't touch on are Black Knight, Firepower, Pinbot, Taxi, Whirlwind, and Sorcerer. Each of the tables has their own distinctive features that separate them from the rest. Of course, everybody is going to have a favorite. Heck, some people may even choose Jive Time as their favorite. I don't really see how that's possible, but to each his own, I guess. In conclusion, Pinball Hall of Fame, the Williams Collection for the Nintendo Wii is a fantastic game. It's incredibly addictive and a lot of fun to play. And here's the best news. It's a budget title. I bought my copy brand new for only $20. At that price, this game is an absolute steal. There's just so much enjoyment to be had with this title. If you're a fan of pinball, as I am, and have fond memories of popping quarter after quarter into your favorite pinball machine, then you absolutely need to get this game. And at only $20, there's absolutely no reason not to. If you're not a fan of pinball, well, as unfortunate as that is, I guess there's really nothing here for you. This game doesn't strive to be anything more than a comprehensive and accurately duplicated history of classic pinball machines. But as far as that goal is concerned, it succeeds magnificently.